All right, y'all. It's the time of day that you've been waiting for. It is the one show on air that will take you from the boardroom to the bedroom, from politics to the pulpit, and everything in between with your favorite friends. You are about to join the crew for Fresh Fire as we do what we do all together. Tune in.
Welcome to the crew here on WHOV 88.1 FM iHeartRadio. We on all the social media outlets. Hey, fellas, we got a lady in here today. Last time look, we had the barbershop fellas, and we had some good conversation. but we got to be on our best behavior today because Dr. Albion Lyons, doctor, is back in the building with us. I'm gonna start with you, Dr. Albion Lyons. How are you today, man? You doing all right?
I am good. I heard so much from my women about how good a show y'all did last week. Like, I heard multiple times, the barbershop talk was fantastic last week. They were great. So I was really beginning to question whether I really needed to come back. I don't want to break up your winning streak. It's going so well for y'all.
I mean, you don't lie good. I just want you to know. You just don't lie good, all right? Yeah, we had a good show. I had some people too come up to me and say, "Hey, can y'all do a part two?" Because we always say we're gonna do a part two, and we don't do it.
And then news breaks, and then we have to talk about what's happening in the news.
Yeah. So, but maybe we'll get around to it in another barbershop discussion. But we got with us also on his day job. He's a Commonwealth attorney for the city of Hampton, but in here he's just Ton. So Ton, what's going on, man?
Just chilling, bro. Try to be good. Try to be nice. Smile, because I was told that people say I don't smile. So,
I can't say anything. Jason, do you want to comment on that, sir, about anything that's in the streets relative to Ton?
What I would say is that Ton is to us in the spiritual world, to the secular world, he's a general and a giant in the legal system. And a lot of people are intimidated by the agranouche and the multitude of man he is. And they say that he don't smile, he don't play. And as a matter of fact, when they saw me hug him, they were like, "Wait, you know who that is?" Like, "I know him, he's cool." They were like, "Yo, he don't play no games." I'm like, Ton got these people in the streets. So I know who to call when somebody's bullying me. I'm calling Commonwealth attorney. I'm calling you.
I don't play games. Here's the thing. I think I'm an approachable person, and I love people, but I don't play no games now. I ain't got time. I stand on business. I don't play games.
10 toes down, right, Ton?
Come on, tricks are for kids.
Nah, word on the street is you don't need no bodyguard because ain't nobody walking up to you, bro. That's word.
Ain't nobody walking up on him. Nobody.
They see that meme, you might give somebody 5 years just for walking up on you. Ain't nobody messing with you, man.
Whatever.
Bishop Ray Johnson is in the building. What's up, Bishop?
I'm good, man. I'm laughing because I know Todd for real, and he is 10 toes down on business for real, and ain't nobody walking up on him for real. And no, he don't need no bodyguards. And if you catch him on the wrong day, it may be tongues and some choice words at the same time. But y'all didn't hear me say that. And as far as Alvia can be in on the barbershop, that's what people don't know about her. That she could be in the barbershop with us and be as comfortable as the rest of us. So, don't let them pretty curls and smile and make them all that fool you.
You got that right.
Can I tell you that would be my favorite place? Half of the reason I tell my husband sometimes I don't want to go places with him is because if I go with you, I'm going to be expected to go sit with the women. And I don't want to. I love my women. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to. I want to go play with the boys. Not because I'm interested in anybody else's husband. I just find the conversation so funny. I really enjoy the conversation, but I'm the first girl after 2 boys. So growing up, I was always the only girl. So it seems normal to me to be with the boys. I actually have to work a little harder sometimes to be with girls. I love y'all sisters out there. Just know I love y'all and I'll hold you down. But I love hanging out with my brothers. I love it.
Yeah. And that's why you always invited to the barbershop. You come on in and hang out. But Todd, I gotta ask you this real quick, man, before we go. So you're a minister and you lock people up. So if somebody were to walk up on you first, are you gonna pray for them first, and then arrest them, or are you going to arrest them first and then pray for them? Which one you going to first?
Well, if you walk up on me, I'm gonna lay these hands on you. So I'll tell you right now, don't walk up on me now. Don't let that suit fool you. Don't let that title fool you. I'm gonna lay hands on you suddenly, and then I will pray that the Lord will heal thee. That's what I'm gonna do. Go Old Testament. Call for the elders.
No, you ain't going Old Testament. You going law first. That's what you just said.
Yeah,
you going law first.
Don't, because somebody walked up on me one time and she thought that, you know, I would be all. I said, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
I know you like. Don't do that.
So what you're telling us is, even though you're a minister of the gospel, you're gonna go with the law first, and then you're gonna go with the prayer second.
No, I'm gonna go with the hood first, and then I'm gonna go with the prayer. No, forget the law, because again, when I'm in the streets, you know, they don't know I'm with attorney in the streets. You know, I'm just in the streets, going to the grocery store or wherever, and I'm like, I want to be able to be safe in my person like everybody else. And so I expect people to respect my personhood like I would respect theirs. But sometimes people, they will do things because they think they can. You're supposed to lay down for them to walk on top of you because you're a public official, and that's not the way it works. I expect you to respect me because I'm going to respect you. And if you don't, like I said, you walk up on me, you're going to walk up on the wrong one.
Well, that they respect you, Tom. That's why ain't nobody walking up on you, bro. You can walk anywhere you want in the city. Ain't nobody coming up on you, bro.
Tom said, you may walk up on me, but you're going to roll away.
You're going to walk away, but you're going to limp back.
Hey, Jason, what are we to make of this? You know, one of the members of our church, Jason, told Todd, listen, you gotta stop threatening my pastor. You know what I'm saying?
The kingdom suffereth violence, and the violence taken by force. That's what he said.
They approach me, Al. They approach me, and they're like, you know, what you walking up on my pastor. I'm like, they don't know that Kevin picks. You know, my nickname for Kevin is Kevon. I'm like, Kevon picks. He would pick, and he'll pick offline, and then when we go to the show, he try to act all nice and everything. But Kevon, he picks. He has an alter ego. It's Kevon, and Kevon picks.
They don't believe that. They just see how you mistreat me on this show. But let's go ahead on. We got to move on. We got stuff to talk about.
We've got some law to discuss.
Yes, we do. Todd, you the content creator of the show, sir. So what are we talking about today?
Y'all, we got to talk about OJ.
Oh boy.
OJ.
Yeah, we got to talk about OJ, y'all. OJ then went on, and he then went on, you know, hopefully he went on to glory, but he didn't went on. And, you know, and we don't know where, but that's neither here nor there. But OJ passed away recently of prostate cancer. And it has now stimulated conversation about the people versus OJ Simpson that took place in 1995. And it was an 8-month trial. But the verdict came back in less than 4 hours. So 8 months of evidence, and you deliberated for 4 hours and came back with a verdict that just shook America. Shook the nation, y'all. I remember watching, I'm sure as many of you were, I remember watching when that verdict was read aloud, because many of the outlets, media outlets, they carried the case. They streamed the case live. And so when that verdict came out, they had people in colleges, on the streets, people were outside the courthouse, people were in the marketplace. They had cameras everywhere because they wanted to get the raw emotions of the people in America concerning this case. And it was deeply divided on racial lines.
Yeah, and so I want to get to all that because there's so many layers, as we said. But let me just first set the table. So, Alvin, when you heard the news that OJ died, what was the first thing that came to mind? How did you feel?
I didn't really feel anything, to be honest. Like, there wasn't anything emotional. I was completely reminded that the internet is undefeated because the memes that are all over the place, you got the Ford truck is now a hearse in the back. I mean, like, I was like, the man is dead and people still can't stop joking. I mean, like there were people who were putting out the last text OJ sent before he died, talking about, I did it, ends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it was just all over the place. So before you can have a real moment to digest the fact that somebody died, this, like somebody's gone from this earth, you are already, you almost feel guilty. You're already laughing about terrible tragedy. Somebody's dead, and when I found out that he was dead, I was a teenager. I mean, found out that he was found innocent. I was a teenager, so.
Found not guilty.
Yeah, you're right. Let me correct that. You're absolutely right, because not guilty is not the same thing as innocent. You're absolutely right. Let me correct that statement. When the not guilty verdict came back, I was a teenager when that came out. And it was just school kids, the whole 9 yards, same thing, right along racial lines. All of my white friends couldn't believe it. All of my Black friends were like, finally, one of us gets off. Like it was completely, I mean, it was a sea that just separated right down racial lines. There was virtually nobody in the middle. No one.
Yep. I'm gonna come to that too. We're gonna talk about all that. So, Bishop, let me come to you, sir. First reaction to hearing OJ died.
Can I pretend like we're in the barbershop and just be Ray Johnson and not the bishop?
Yeah,
you can.
Yes, you can.
I was like, rest well, King, rest well. I was like, rest well, King, rest well. Take your rest, Black man, take your rest. And I know we'll get into the racial element, but that, like Alvian, all of the memes and things, the internet is undefeated. And actually, one of my children called me to tell me, and was texting me the memes and literally said to me, Dad, they're only concerned about his death because he is a Black man that got away with something. Mm-hmm. Now that is, and that's not a millennial, that's Gen Z talking. So this thing kind of stretches across generational lines. So I was like, rest well, Black man, take your rest.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jay, how about you, man? Your thoughts, immediate thoughts when you heard OJ die?
I don't mean to be morbid or disrespectful. I did kind of chuckle a little bit because I knew the memes were coming. And as soon as I said that, my wife sent me one. I sent her one, and it was despicable. I felt really bad because I laughed, but this is somebody's father. This was someone's husband. And I felt bad in that regard. But it reminded me that at the end of the day, that America will always remind you that you're Black. No matter where you go, no matter how far you get in life, if you're a Black man, they're going to remind you of who you are. Like Rafiki said, remember who you are, Simba. And America quickly showed my boy, because I was not too much younger than Alvin. I remember being in school and we watched the trial. And it was dark seeing him in that Ford Bronco, and they say he had a gun on him when he pulled into his house, and he still stayed in the car for a few hours. My boy has a Bronco now, and the first thing I thought about was like, yo, those sale prices are about to go through the roof behind stuff like this. So it was a multiplicity of things, but I did feel kind of bad. Because again, man, I know OJ did it. He knew he did it, because why would you write a book and say, if I did it, it's how I would do it? I would never do anything like that if I did something. It's just going to be what it is. So, yeah, it was rough, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. So I feel like we need to put a disclaimer out right now before we go further. And I know we're talking about the memes and we're laughing in reaction to the memes, but we know that there's nothing funny about death and somebody passing. And we also know what he was accused of. And at the end of the day, he was found not guilty, but there were two people that were murdered.
Right.
And so we want to make sure we put all of that out as we have this conversation, because there are lots of sides to this discussion. And I want to do that. So where I want to first start with OJ is that maybe people don't realize that, before OJ got caught up in all of the legal challenges, he was one of the greatest football players ever.
Ever.
And I think a lot of people have forgotten all about that. He was a running back primarily for the Buffalo Bills. He was phenomenal as a football player. He won a Heisman Trophy in college. And even after he retired from the NFL, he went into broadcasting and did some movies and some broadcasting for ABC. He was widely known, and widely celebrated. And I think what I remember most about the case was the fact that when he was on the freeway, they cut out the NBA finals. Now, Ray, you remember, like the Houston Rockets was playing the Knicks, and they cut the finals out watching him go down the street, and they trying to find him and see where he's going and all this. So this did capture America's attention simply because, and we all know, it was a black man that was allegedly killed two white people, and one of the white persons was his wife. And everybody's watching this case from that lens. So I want to start with you, Ton. I want to get a little bit of legal perspective on this, because you just mentioned it took 8 months for this case to play out. Is now, help us put that in context. Is that twice the length of time for a normal case? Is that normally how long? Like for a major high-profile case, how long do they normally take?
It depends on the state. Some states, cases can take months and months and months to try. Like right now in Atlanta, Georgia, they're trying this rapper who has been tried for months. I mean, it's been going on now. I think at least about 4 or 5 months now. They've been trying him, and so it's not unusual depending on the state. In California, they are one of those states where trials tend to be lengthy for months at a time. However, this particular case was unusually long. It had 150 witnesses that testified. In addition to that, you had because there were no eyewitnesses, the state relied a lot upon DNA evidence. And this is 1994, 1995. DNA evidence was pretty much still not commonly known as it is today. Like, for instance, if you talk about DNA now, people are like, oh, if they got DNA on you, then that's the end of it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But the credibility of DNA was still in its infancy stages. And so being able to educate the public on DNA and the reliability of DNA was a hurdle that the prosecution unfortunately was not able to cross. But in this particular case, the DNA evidence that was presented was that there was blood at the rear gate of Nicole Brown Simpson's home. But for those who may not been alive at the time of this trial or be aware of the details of the fact, O.J. Simpson was charged with killing his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson. They had divorced in 1992, and there had been allegations of domestic abuse prior to the divorce and even after the divorce. And so he was charged with killing her and her friend, Ronald Goldman, who happened to be at her residence at that particular time, a condominium in LA. And so there was DNA evidence because it was knife wounds. It was multiple knife wounds. And I'm talking about this person stabbed Ronald Goldman a couple of times, about 3 or 4 times or whatever. But Nicole Brown Simpson, she was stabbed, I mean, like just dozens of times. It was a very, very bloody crime scene. And normally when you have a case where a person is stabbed multiple times, particularly like 10, 8, 9, 12 times, typically that is what we call a crime of
passion. Yep.
Yeah. Because that person has hatred, vitriol towards that individual. So it's not even an issue of killing a person. It's an issue of just, I hate you so much. And I'm just, mentally, they
black out practically.
Yeah, they're just caught up in just hurting that person, that they're not even psychologically aware of the fact that they are repeatedly stabbing this person. So it's not even an issue of, I just want to make sure you're dead. This is an issue of, I just want to hurt you. I just want to hurt you. So
Okay.
she had all of that. So anyway, there was blood everywhere. At the rear of her gate of her residence, Simpson's blood was found according to DNA. In addition, when the LA police went to do a search of his home, they found bloody socks that had Nicole Simpson's blood on it. In addition, there was a bloody glove that was found outside of the residence of O.J. Simpson, which again had Nicole Brown Simpson's blood on it. However, we all are familiar with that very famous quote: "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." So, according to Johnny Cochran, who was the lead attorney, and this was considered the dream team. You had F. Lee Bailey up there, who was a mastermind when it came to cross-examination. Rob Kardashian, even Alan Dershowitz was on that team for a minute. So you had a variety of just experts in their field in criminal law. And so he being Johnny Cochran, had OJ try on the glove in front of the jury, and it didn't fit. It was too snug. And so what he stated was, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. But what the prosecution should have done is they should have had someone to talk about what is the impact of leather being infiltrated
Once it gets wet.
with
Yep.
liquid, particularly blood.
It shrinks.
Does it shrink it?
Yeah.
Because if you come on, I'm talking to somebody. If you had done your homework, you should have had someone up there to talk about the impact of liquids on leather. We all know if you put liquid on leather, it shrinks.
Shrink. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to fit. It's going to shrink because it was a bloody glove.
Yeah.
And they said that there was a police detective, Ronald Furman, who planted that glove at OJ's outside his home. So he was a racist. They were saying that LA Police Department were racist. And unfortunately, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And they had prior racist situations. Well, you got the Panthers and you got all different types of issues going on in the LA Police Department systemically. So as a result, that it wasn't hard for LA, for people who lived in LA to believe that their police department was racist. They had done too many things that would corroborate or give credibility to that claim.
Okay,
so
let me stop you right there, because I got some questions, man, and I want to make sure we all get a moment. So real quick, I want to go back to the timeline. 8 months, you're saying, is usually a little bit longer than normal for an average case, right? But then you also said that the jury deliberated for only 4 hours. Now, what we know is that the jury was comprised of 8 Black women. All right, let's just put this out here, right?
boom.
8 sisters was on the jury. Okay, so Todd, I'm asking you from your legal perspective here. Then I'm gonna get to the rest of the group. Real quick answer. Do you believe the prosecution lost this case because of their own failings or missteps, what you just said about the glove and not having somebody come back? Or do you feel like the jury, which was comprised of 8 sisters, say, you know what, I don't care what they show OJ.
Not today.
So let me just go ahead on and educate the general public. I train prosecutors. That's one of the things that I do. And I tell particular people in my office, but I've done trainings on jury voir dire
Selection.
as jury selection. I do trainings on that. I've done that in the past. And I've told them countless times, you win and you lose your case on jury selection.
100%.
Bottom line, that's 95% of the time. You're going to win and lose your case based on who you put in those seats. Because if you put the wrong person in that seat, I don't care how good that case is, that wrong person can be like a poison apple and can infest everybody else that's in the room. Or that one, you got to have a unanimous verdict. So that one person could be the one that hold up the entire guilty verdict. But 8 Black women, Now, come on, y'all. Let's just talk about it. I'm a dude, but I mean, let's talk about it. OJ was a pretty boy, and OJ was a celebrity, and OJ had money, and OJ was an athlete, which means he was fit. And you gonna put 8 black women in front of that Negro? Nah, that was not a good thing.
Keep in mind one other thing, because chronology matters. LA Police Department had just had the Rodney King incident
Rodney King.
years prior. Okay, so Rodney King was 1991, March of 1991. OJ's 95. So it's not that long. It's still raw in the brain what just happened at the hand of that police department. And here is an opportunity. And you know, Black women will save America from themselves all day long. You know that if given the opportunity, we're going to level the playing field in whatever way we deem necessary. We do it politically every day. Letitia James, Fannie Willis, we do it every day. So contextually, just keep in mind that timeline when this is happening after just having the largest case of police violence to short prior to George Floyd, the only case that made it with that same level, almost the same level of appall, was the Rodney King case. And that was the same police department.
And you got to jump on top of that. The prosecution lost that case in state court.
Yep.
Yes.
So now you have they rioted. Remember, they rioted.
They sure did.
With that case. They lost that case in state court. And so you got Black Americans in California and in LA who were devastated at the fact that they lost, particularly because it was on video.
We watched it happen. Yep.
Getting beat silly, and you seeing the video of him with all the bruises and the cuts and all of that.
His face swollen like a watermelon.
Yes.
Yep.
And these individuals walked. And so now here's OJ, and they're claiming that this lead detective is racist. Yeah, they can believe that he's racist because the police department are racist. And they called it a rush to judgment. So yeah, they can believe it's a rush to judgment because of everything that already transpired.
Let's get to the meat then. I'm gonna ask y'all a simple question, yes or no. That's all I want right now. Do you believe that OJ did it or not? That's my question right now. That's my question. I just want to ask a question. I want to go on record right now. So Ray, what do you say? Yes or no?
OJ did it. OJ did it.
Jay, did OJ do it or not?
Absolutely, almost cussed. Yes, he did.
Okay, all right. I'm just asking for the. I want to put everybody on record. Now, did OJ do it?
Okay, so mine comes with a caveat.
Todd, don't laugh at me like that.
If he didn't do it, he knew exactly who did. He was there. So like I whether he did it or not, I know he's guilty for how she died. I ain't
let you go out there like that, Al. I ain't let you go out like that. Man, after all this went down, when he found out that they were about to arrest him for this charge, he took the police on a 1 hour slow speed chase through LA, and he had his friend Al, who was on the phone with the police saying that OJ had a gun to his head. Why you got a gun to your head and you didn't do it? Why you got a gun to your head?
Let me tell you what one of the theories that we played with for years, those of us who were following the case, was whether or not his son was responsible for it. Like that's the theory
I've always said that.
So my thing, I'm not 100% sure OJ did it, but I am 100% sure OJ knew who did it if he didn't do it. And the way in which he handled the son situation after that really had us kind of looking at that a little interesting.
Let me help you with that. Let me debunk that theory.
Go ahead, Anton.
Let me debunk that theory for you real quick. Can I tell you why it wasn't the son? Because the son knew his dad was an abuser. His son grew up in a home where his mother, Marguerite Simpson, had been abused by OJ for years, and that his mom got cheated on by Nicole Brown Simpson. That's the person that OJ left his mom for to go marry. So if I know you are an abuser and I know I watch you beat my mom and now you beating this woman or allegedly beating this woman, why am I going to kill her? I'm looking at you. And if you remember
I hear what you're saying, Anton, but
I
I'm
was
gonna
in
have
law
to,
school.
I'm gonna have to debate that.
I was in law school. Hold on. I was in law school when this went down. I watched that trial and I watched them kids come to court. And particularly it was the daughter who was daddy's girl. She was the one that was feeling sympathy and compassion for daddy. The boy looked like I'm here only because I was told I need to be here because it looks good to present a family front. But the boy won't like the daughter. The boy was like, I'm here, but I'm here in body only. Old girl, the daughter, she was there because that's my daddy. And I love my daddy. No. That brother right there, he got issues he got daddy issues. Now, he didn't do that for him.
Okay, so Todd, you were yes there. And I gotta say, Al, I'm in your camp. I'm in your camp, Al. I do think it's likely he did it, but if he didn't do it, I'm looking at the son, or I'm thinking OJ absolutely knows who did it. Now, in the interest of time, because I don't want to litigate the case so much as I do, I want to talk about.
Let's talk about the layers.
Yeah, the layers up. So here's the first layer. If we all believe that OJ did it or knew who did it, he was involved in it. What does it say about Black people that we are happy, even today to some degree, and joyful that a murderer got off?
Mm-hmm.
What does that say about us? Somebody talk to me, y'all. I'm playing the other side.
Comments.
Right? I'm playing the other side, right? I'm playing the other side, right?
Yep,
what does it say?
Say it, Ray.
We celebrate it, even though we all knew he did.
That man was connected to a crime. We knew he was connected to a crime.
So then what does it say about us that we were so happy when he was acquitted, even though we knew?
I don't feel no kind of way about what it say about us, because I was a sophomore in college right when Rodney King was getting his brains beat out. I mean, just billy clubbed. And when you go from an Emmett Till to a Rodney King to all of the stuff in between that's taking place in LA with the drug distribution and the crimes and all that. And at that time, I had just come from interning in Congress with Mfumi. And I sat in the hearings that had to do with the disparity in sentencing in regards to crack cocaine and powder cocaine and all of that stuff that was happening and taking place at the time. And this is one time in America where somebody Black that has done something for all the Black people that did not do something that ended up with sentences that kept them inside of the penal system unjustly. For us at that time, and I can't speak for all Black people, but I'm speaking for the ones at the time and the era in which I was in, absolutely we were excited, because for us at that time, it seemed like justice had been done. Now,
before you go any further, Bishop Johnson, people that aren't watching, they miss a lot of things that just happened on our Zoom. You should have saw when Ray started talking and Anton closed his tablet and the look of disgust. And Mel that he had in his eyes. I just don't want y'all that's listening on the radio or on iHeartRadio. Y'all missed that moment, and it is forever ingrained into my brain. Thank you, Anton. This is why people don't come and hug you, Anton. That's why right there. That's why.
So before we get to Al and Todd, Ray, so you're saying that most Black people felt a sense of, now you know how we feel. Now you know how we feel. When there's been so many white folks that's killed Black folks and white folks got off, now this was the first time that we could ever think of that it was in reverse.
Come on, think you had all of this happen at the same time, and let's make it homegrown for us. I don't even know if I want to put that one out there right yet, but let me just say, you got Allen Iverson that's doing time that wasn't necessarily even in the bowling alley that's taking place. So you have all of this kind of atmospheric vitriol that's been happening with Black people, and all of a sudden now, here's one that he gets off. Now we all know, in hindsight 2020, whether he did it or not, he was proven innocent, and Black people celebrated.
Okay, so
So I
Al,
don't
I'm
think it's
coming to
gonna count away.
you. Do we think that Black people put all of their efforts into the miscarriages of justice over the history of time in our country on OJ and say, you know what, for all the times we've been wronged and all the times that justice has not been
Yes.
served, we're gonna ride with OJ, even though we know he's guilty as sin? Is that what
Yes.
happened, Alvin?
Yeah, and I think that, and this is going to be controversial, and I know it is, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think that that's exactly the reverse in terms of what's happening with Trump right now. In that, for those people who Trump represents, the injustice they feel like America has done to them, and how the system has somehow kept them down, and how the system has worked in reverse for them, and they don't get the opportunities or privileges that they believe should be afforded them, and the list goes on and on. Their unwillingness to get off of the Trump boat has a lot to do with the fact that they see him as representative of, I don't care whether he has 9,000 felonies. That is my guy. I am riding with him because he represents me finally being able to stick it to, the establishment, so to speak. I think it's part of the human condition when you put on to someone else, you project onto someone else your plight. And when they win, you win. When they lose, you lose. So it almost doesn't matter for the people who do that. That's in their personality. That is in their way of functioning psychologically. When they win, you win. When they lose, you lose. It almost doesn't even matter what happens. I will not say that same level of loyalty exists today for people of color. I would not say that is the same. I think so much has happened in the 30 years that have taken place that we couldn't wait for R. Kelly to go down. We good with Diddy going down. We're good with, we have no issue anymore taking some of the idols down for the realities of their criminality. We are getting off the boat of having to have an idol who can represent all of us anymore. We are far more individualistic in that way. And I'm glad for that, just to be clear, because to Anton's face, crime is crime, y'all. It is, if it's wrong, it's wrong no matter who's doing it. There's no question about that. But it's just that where we were in America coming off of the Rodney King has a lot to do with the way that people felt about OJ. And the same thing that is happening now, the reflex of feeling, for some elements of America, feeling stepped on when we had an Obama for president for 8 years, feeling put aside and not having their rightful place in America was problematic. Trump is the answer to that for them. And it doesn't matter. And there's law enforcement who are hardcore law enforcement, who absolutely will lock a criminal up in a heartbeat. That if any of the things that Trump had done had happened to somebody that they were dealing with locally, they would absolutely call him a criminal. But they're 100% behind that man and know he's a criminal, even though they are cops. And I know some great cops. I'm saying there are those that they don't even care. They don't care what he did. He could be a rapist. It would not matter because he's their guy. So I think that can happen from a human perspective based on how you feel like the system has screwed you. You will be okay with some stuff and turn a blind eye to ethics, morality, and integrity if it feels like your person, finally, one of you got to the mountaintop.
That's a fascinating angle. That's a fascinating angle, Ivy. Let me come to you, Todd. Look, do you feel like here it is? We all said it. We felt he was guilty. He gets off. Black people are celebrating, throwing parties. White people angry as I don't know what. What I'm hearing is Black people say, well, now you know how we feel. And now you know how we felt all these years when the system did us dirty. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that, Todd?
No, I mean, that was the case, but it's still wrong. And the reason it's still wrong is because, don't turn your video off, Ray. It's wrong because the reality of it is you cannot put limits around sin. Crime is the product or the byproduct of sin. And you can't put limits around sin. And so what happens is this. Yeah, you let that person off, but then what happens when that person goes back out there and go and commit other crimes? Because when you let someone off who has committed a crime and they know they got away with it, it empowers them to go out there and to do many times worse than what they've done. I remember particularly there was a case where it was a 17-year-old in Hampton that did not get convicted of a murder case. His father came in and lied and tried to create an alibi. And I talked to one of the juror members who was on that case. Months later, that juror member revealed to me that the reason why she did not vote for guilt was because she felt that maybe he had done it, but she just wanted to give him a break or a chance because he was 17 years old. Well, let me tell you how it has a ricochet effect in our community. Because see, it's us that's killing us. You know, nobody want to talk about that, but it's us that's killing us. And what ended up happening is when she let him go, the person that was sitting at her kitchen table for Christmas, that joker went out and killed him. So the person that was sitting at her kitchen table got killed by someone that she let go because she wanted to give him a break. You see how they come back to hunt you?
Yeah.
Crime will come and knock on your door if you're not careful. So that's the problem I have because we killing each other. So when you let him go because you trying to make up for injustices of the past, all you do is open up the door for somebody else's family to have to grieve because now they got to deal with the blood that you just created because you didn't want to do the right thing. That's the problem I got.
Yeah, that's good. So now let's keep going because we short on time and this show is good today. So he was not found legally guilty. He was found guilty civilly, and we do know that he did have to pay and all that. And in that situation, the jury was predominantly white. Let's just be honest, right? So jury
evidence was there. Come on, y'all. The evidence was there. You don't make up no DNA. The man's blood was on the real.
You can't use the DNA in the civil case, though, Tom. That's what black folks is upset about. For people in general, I won't say black.
It was the man's DNA, his blood was found at the gate of her residence, the murder scene.
But you just said jury selection is the biggest part of a prosecutor's job. So what you telling me is the prosecution in the legal case got it wrong.
In the criminal case.
Yes. And then the prosecution in the civil case got it right, is what you're saying.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's really what you're saying.
That is what I'm saying.
So he was found
there. But the evidence was there. And then also it's a different threshold. In civil, is a preponderance of the evidence. In criminal, it is beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's a different threshold.
So Al, I'm gonna come to you because again, I go back to the criminal case. The jury was 8 black women, and 8 black women, among others, found him not guilty. It did not seem, I guess the black community, after he was acquitted, he didn't really come back and embrace the black community, right? He went back to doing what he was doing.
He did, yep, that's exactly right.
You empowered him.
Right. Yeah. So how do you feel about that part of it? Like, yo, man, if we happy that you got off because you represented all of the miscarriages of justice in the past, you don't even come back and thank us. You don't even come back and show your appreciation to us. You just go about your life and you keep doing what you're doing with the people that could have had you in prison for the rest of your life. Al, talk to me about that. How you feel about that, Al?
And that's part of the reason. And I mean, they're not all criminal cases, but that's part of the reason that we weren't defensive of Tiger Woods when he got caught out with all them prostitutes and all the women and all this, that, and the other that he was doing. We black women were not defensive of him at all. You know why? Because not one of those women were a person of color, because he doesn't mess with black women. So we said nothing when that was an absolute mess inside of his world. Despite all of his success and everything else, we did not defend anything that man did. Same thing is true when you're talking about Kanye West. There was very little defense of the stuff that Kanye getting himself in trouble with his statements. Most black women did not come to his defense. You know why? Because Kanye doesn't mess with black women. If you actually pause and think about the folks that are defended versus the folks that are not, there's nothing absolute, but there are majority responses. And depending upon whether or not we see you now in modern day women, we're not talking about 30 years ago, we're talking about present. Modern day women, if you're not one of ours, we ain't protecting you. We are not protecting you because you're not interested in us anyway. You have no love for us anyway. So in a lot of conversations, you know, we will amongst ourselves in homogeneous spaces, we'd be like, well, go get your white girl to go protect you. Let her fix you. Let her protect you, because you didn't think we were good enough to be able to love, be with whatever that is. But now when stuff gets messy, you looking for us now. We're not here for you. You know, like, so that how you treat us has a lot to do with the way we defend, the way we show up, the way we support. You know, like if you don't love us on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we don't have you back on Thursday. It's really just that simple.
Yeah, yeah. And then Jay, I think what sealed it for the Black community, man, and he lost his invitation to the cookout, was what you
Oh,
said before
did he
about the
ever?
book. Yeah, he come out with a book. Talk about that book, man, and how you felt when he came out with it, man.
Listen, when again, I was young, when I heard that man came out with a book that said, I did paraphrase, I didn't do it, but if I did do it, this is how I would have done it. And then I read some of the excerpts of the graphic details that coincide with a lot of details of the case. I said, now listen, OJ, I don't know if you know this or not, but you blackity black. Like, you're not light skinned, you blackity black. You fit the mold of, you know, you're a good looking man. I mean, he was a handsome man. Pause, no homo. But at the end of the day, he was. When I saw that book, I was just like, out of all the dumbest things you could have done, you got away, literally, you got away with murder. You walked away. All you had to do was pay some money, and it was a lot of money. It's not like whatever. It was a lot of money you had to pay. But you write a book in great detail, chapters, and talk about your feelings and your emotions. That for me, like my daddy always said, the unmitigated gall that this man had to write a book. Right. And I think it was a bestseller. People wanted to read it. People wanted to know the gore and all. All I know is if I commit a crime and if the Lord bless me to get away with it, I'm walking away. Thank you, Lord. I ain't get caught by Anton, because Anton's gonna lock me up for the rest of my life.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Now, Ray, given the book comes out later, do you think Black people change their view of him? Or do you think that they still saw OJ as one moment in time where justice bent in our favor, but we're going to separate the case from the man and what he's doing?
I think at the risk of getting in trouble with Anton and Alvian, this is a both and moment.
Here we go.
in the sense that absolutely what Alvian had to say in regards to how Black women perceived OJ, in terms of, you know, the consistency of "you don't fool with us, no way," and some of the metaphors that she used, some of the examples. But on the other end, this was that one instance in time. And keep in mind the context surrounding it and everything that was happening in the early 90s at that time lends itself to the perspective. If you use just our responses on this show, y'all go back and replay the show again of our original answers as we all started out, we understood. We were either in juniors and seniors in high school, or we were sophomores and juniors in college, and we all had the same experiences, and we still feel that same way today because of the instances. Now, to draw another parallel, you go from Rodney King to the condition of the times, and then now fast forward all the way up, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice, Jordan Davis, and Philando Castile. You just keep right on going. There's this history of how Black people are treated in terms of the penal system, their perspectives, and what happens at the hands of law enforcement. And I think that becomes a continuum across the board for many Blacks.
Mm-hmm. So let's fast forward, y'all. I'm gonna ask all y'all the same question. Alvin, I think you answered it in part, but I want to get your answer again. If this happened today, this case, same situation, a Black man is accused of killing his white wife and white friend, and now imagine if social media is a part of this whole deal. Do you think the Black community would be feeling the same way toward OJ in terms of we hope he gets off, even though most of us know he did it.
No.
How do you think it will play out today?
No. I think we're in a different space now. And obviously, to Ray's point, we have been through all kinds of, injustices. But I think that there's a difference in the way in which we are building community and connection, particularly as you start to move through the generations. The younger generations don't see color the way we see color, and they definitely don't see color the way that, the generations ahead of us are seeing color. Their concepts are very different. Their sense of connection is very different. What would be more important to them, or do we have the same likes? Do we enjoy the same things? They're less interested in the packaging. So, a lot of folks will say, all we need in America is for all the old folks to die out and we could deal with racism. We would be almost done with it, because that's what's in continuing to perpetuate the cancer. So I would not say that we would respond the same way. I think that we're at a different place. Like, as I mentioned before, we're far more individualistic than we are collective now. It's what's good for me and what's good for my family. And the newest thing, and when I say newest, I mean, over the last decade, Black women with white men is huge. Okay, it's huge, because so many of us are educated and can't find our chocolate equals, that we still want to get married and have children and build families. That the concept of package is really starting to change. When you've got 15-to-1 ratios, we're not going to find it in Black men. So if you're looking for a partner, you got to expand your options at this point. All of those things are reshaping the way that we're going to orient towards that kind of news and those kinds of cases, because we're not in the same place we were 3 decades ago.
Tom, we're coming up on time, man. What's your thought? If this case were played out today, do you think the Black community, not you in particular, but the Black community, do you think we would still?
Hold on, I'm Black.
I know you Black.
Yeah, but you said not me. I'm Black. I'm part of the community.
I'm not saying answer it for your own personal opinion. I'm saying answer it from the perspective of the entire Black community. Is that okay, sir?
I'm just saying, I don't know, he calling me unblack or whatever. I'm just trying to get some understanding. I'm like,
you ain't white chocolate, huh, Tom? You ain't white chocolate.
I'm Black. I'm answering based upon my experiences. I grew up in the hood. So I got problems with people committing crime because they don't go to the gated community when they get out. They come back to the hood. But nonetheless, I'm going to digress. But in reference to all of that, I think the problem is there's a spirit of lawlessness that is in our culture. So I don't think it is an issue of whether he's married to a white woman or not. The issue is a Black man on trial. And unfortunately, there are Black people who go to court and say, I will not put another Black man in jail. I don't care what he does. And that is the reality of it. And the fact that he's married to a white woman, they're definitely going to say, I'm not going to put him in jail. So yeah, I believe that it could play out exactly the way it played out.
Ray, real quick, we got about 30 seconds. What you say?
I agree with Albion on this one. I don't think that because we tend to romantically be engaged across the board and the same values that we have held then are not consciously the same in terms of how we perceive culture today. I don't think that, Black people will have the same kind of response. And mind you, just as much as Black women are dating white men, you have an uptick of Black women who are dating Black men who are dating across the board. So I don't, we're not as homogeneously monolithic in terms of our dating pool with each other. I think we're spread a little bit too thin, which has a lot to say about where is Black consciousness at today.
Yeah, I wish we could get to that. And I kind of am with Tom on this one. I think because race was so heavily involved in this whole case, right? It wasn't just O.J. Simpson, a famous football player. It was a Black man accused of killing 2 white people. And I think if you had that same scenario today, a Black person, because when we do it, it's a different reaction. But when it's just like with cops, when a white cop does something in the Black community, there's a whole different reaction than when we do it to ourselves. And so I think I kind of lean with Tom on this. I think there will be some measure of we're going to support the Black person Maybe not to the extent that it was in the OJ case, but I still think that there will be some measure of that, even if we found or thought that he was guilty. But we're going to have to end it there because we're out of time. Great show. Drop your comments if you're watching us in the chat. As always, we check those comments out. We appreciate y'all hanging with us. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. Peace.
Okay, I hope you loved it as much as we did. Thank you for joining us for another fire show for the crew. Listen, you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any streaming platform that you're using for your podcast. Share with a friend, expand the family. Listen, we're trying to do this thing with all of you as often as we possibly can. We're looking forward to you joining us again for our next show.